alive. And here we are on another day in which America was besieged by violence, terrorist violence, no question, terrorist violence. Certainly clear as a bell in Old Dominion, where the guy was yelling Allah Akbar. I know that's not enough for like Obama and Biden and people like that, but for normal human beings, when you start yelling Allah Akbar, we know that you're doing it in the name of the Muslim religion as dictated in this book right here. This is not a peaceful religion. This is a religion of war that needs to take out about this much of the book. The parts about you shouldn't be friends with Christians and Jews, you should slit their throats. That there is an exception that can be made if they pay you tribute, if they pay you money. But if you're not satisfied with that, kill them. That they are defilers of decency, and 107, 109 passages that are direct invocations to killing and murder. Very, very little. You don't find things in here like forgive your enemies. What you find here is slit their throats. Sorry, I mean, somebody's got to tell you the truth about it. This has been like this has been homicidal avoidance for centuries. The Catholic Church actually, in some places, actually gives them places to have their what do they call it, mass. And then they practice a religion that wants to kill us, unless they've taken it out of the religion. Now, and some have. It's just hard to know the difference. And then also, when something like this happens, they all end up siding with. I mean, how many? You do see some, right? If you watch television, we have some on. You've seen them on Fox and you've seen them on Newsmax, and you'll never see them on the communist stations. But you'll see Muslims who agree with me that the religion has to be substantially reformed and modified. But there are more that agree with me that have the courage to come forward, and they end up with this. And this happens in ethnic groups a lot. I mean, I noticed it with Italians also. They'll feel a necessity to defend, even though they know that that certain parts of the group are wrong. But because they feel they're being singled out, they'll defend what they otherwise wouldn't, and that is going on here, and it's enormously important, that we understand it. And I think the attack in Michigan will illustrate that pretty clearly, because the Dearborn community is what we have to fear in replicating itself. And people in Texas believe that there are places in Texas that are getting pretty close to Dearborn. Hard to believe, but that's what they tell me. Right. People in England say they're way ahead of Dearborn. They've got like 50 or 52 jurisdictions that actually have Sharia law.
Well, one of the problems too, in the way that this can like fester and expand as it is it's often quite insular for a lot of these families. A lot of these families, the wives don't even see the outside, right? They're cooking at home. They go to like little group meetings, and
they're not affected by the influence of America, and look at it and say, look at all these women that have so many rights, and we're sitting here with the thing on our head.
It's brainwashed in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah. They've never, I mean, yeah, I guess.
But if you're a wife living in Dearborn and that's all you see, it's easy to, let that grow and get out of control because, they have families and those families have families. They're taught the same way. And before you know it, you got a whole city.
Well, let me ask you this. You both grew up there. So did you have much contact with the Muslim community? And is it all in Dearborn, or are there other parts of Michigan that have pockets of Muslims?
I certainly did. I grew up close to it. Ted's a little bit more from the north, but in my area, yeah, we would have Muslim friends. My father was in the healthcare industry, a lot of Muslim doctors. You take trips, and we were a little bit north of Dearborn, but all of my Arab friends in my area would always go on trips to Dearborn, and the food is good. And
when you say go on trips to Dearborn, in other words, they lived outside of Dearborn, but they go back there as if that was their capital. Their
yep. And
Italians might go back to the old neighborhood.
You get the best sweets, and and actually, you might be surprised. The Henry Ford Museum in Greenfield Village is in Dearborn as well, and as well as a lot of Ford. Yeah, right. And so it is a cultural sort of place. It's fun. Like you can have a good, enriching experience in Dearborn if you want to. But then,
what does that mean? A good, enriching?
Well, like you can go to the Henry Ford. You can see all the history involved at the Henry Ford. You can eat some of the best, and say what you want, but like some of the best Middle Eastern food in the world in Southeast Michigan, right? And the best places because the community, there's a little bit of wealth there and they like to experience the finer things. So if you want to go and have food that you're not necessarily used to having, or go see Greenfield Village where Thomas Edison's lab is not recreated. So, they moved his lab to Dearborn.
Now that is in the middle of the Muslim neighborhood.
Yes. And Dearborn, there's like West Dearborn, and then there's East Dearborn, and then there's all these other communities nearby, as well as Hamtramck and Metro Detroit. And all of them to varying degrees do have a Muslim or Arab population. But Dearborn itself, yeah. But you know what? It's not 100%. You can't call it a monolith, because I do have friends from Dearborn who are not Muslim or Arab. But all of those friends certainly have close relationships with them.
It's not 100%.
Not 100%.
What is it? 50%? 60%?
What would you say, you think?
Yeah,
it's majority, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And they're proud of it too. And they don't shy away from it. That's for sure.
Well, the war has probably put a great deal of stress on that, right?
Certainly. Well, and that's the thing too. Yeah.
And particularly since a lot of them are Lebanese. So now we're talking about, if they aren't Christian, we may be talking about Hezbollah. Relationships with Hezbollah, which are really pretty dangerous.
Yeah. And there is a large, and you know what, actually, that's what my friends used to call Little Lebanon. You want to go to Dearborn or Little Lebanon? That's and right. And there's actually a Lebanese Druze population in Michigan too. And that was actually, most of my Lebanese friends were Druze.
They were here because they're being persecuted.
Exactly. And actually I've never experienced kindness like that.
Oh no, they're wonderful people. But I mean, they are, the Iranians will kill them on sight.
Oh yeah. But they're very sad too about the state of like Lebanon. A lot of them would go all the time, and they have houses in the mountains, and they let that toxic, that toxic Islamic extremism sort of take over that. And then plus they had the refugees, right? All from Syria, that they had to deal with. And that's another pot for creating terrorists. It's so hard to talk about. I mean, you got to just say what it is, right?
Yeah, it's hard. And I think we've trained ourselves to be very euphemistic about talking about the Muslim religion, because we don't want to insult anybody. And the failure to insult anybody is we're getting ourselves killed. You have to face your enemy. It would be as if you were too embarrassed to talk about the Nazis, or you were too embarrassed to talk about the communists. If you can't face your enemies, you can't win. You're gonna keep losing. Well, let's take a look at how the war is going. The Iranians yesterday took out 3 tankers, and the tankers the tankers were tankers that were, I think, attempting to go through the Strait of Hormuz, which is only 21 miles, um, 21 miles at its narrowest. And I think only one of them actually was taken out right in the Strait of Hormuz. The other 2 were taken out maybe 40, 50, 60 miles away. And none of them were American ships. They were all under other flags. Some had two had minor damage, and but one. How many casualties? I think 1, right? I think there was 1 casualty, and that was on the Mayu Ray Nare, which I think that's right. I think I hope I pronounced it correctly. I think I did. I made a good try.
Right. Well, we're looking into that right now, Mayor, to give you the latest.
So I think I'm going to try to show you.
We do have some breaking news
No,
from just a few minutes ago.
Please go ahead.
The U.S. Military Central Command said Thursday that a U.S. KC-135 refueling aircraft that was a part of the ongoing war with Iran has crashed in neighboring Iraq. In a statement, U.S. Central Command said that an incident involving 2 aircraft occurred in friendly airspace. One aircraft went down while the other landed safely. The incident was not because of either hostile fire or friendly fire. U.S. military officials say rescue teams are on site. The KC-135 usually has a crew of at least 3 people.
So 1 plane survivors.
Yes.
The other plane, we don't know.
One plane is down.
Pardon me?
Yes, we know that 1 plane has crashed. The other one landed safely. The one that crashed is a refueling plane and a part of ongoing operations in Iran.
Both American.
Do not know about the second plane that landed safely,
Both friendly.
but they were friendly, yes.
And we don't know if the people on the refueling plane survived.
We do not know. This is just minutes ago we're learning this.
Well, let's pray that they did.
Chances are at least 3 people were on board, is usually how this sort of aircraft is.
And what was so one was a refueling plane, and what was the other?
We do not know at this
No,
time.
what kind of plane was it?
Oh,
The one that made it.
Yeah, I did not specify.
Oh, I thought they did.
I thought.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get that. We'll keep looking here.
And it's you never want to speculate too much, but a refueling plane that has a lot of fuel in it typically
Refueling
doesn't.
plane, when you hit a refueling plane,
It involved 2 aircraft, but they do not describe the second aircraft that landed safely.
well, if you want to take a look, I'll show you the main ship that was destroyed. It comes from Bangkok, and it must have had oil in it. Can people see that now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the ship. But now, if we take a good look right here, that's what it looked like.
Exactly.
And you can see it in there if you look very, very carefully. You can see it in there.
Oh, so that was an attack by
Yeah.
That was attacked by a drone. And the other two, I'm not sure how much damage they had, but nothing.
that had a tie flag on it.
Yeah, nothing close. Nothing close to. Nothing close to that.
A lot of energy brings a lot of explosion, as we can see.
So they as far as we can tell, and here's essentially what it looks like. That's there. You can see the Gulf. You can see the one that was hit right in the middle of the Gulf, and then the other 2 that were hit as they were approaching the Gulf, and it now leaves everyone kind of afraid to challenge it. And the president has said he would escort He'd escort the ships through. The problem is, and this is what we did. This is what we did in the Red Sea, which is on the other side of the desert. This is what we did in the Red Sea when the Houthis were attacking during the 12-day war and the other hostilities. And it worked out really well. But the Red Sea is much. It'd be one thing. It'd be one thing to protect them in that area where you see Siri and Faror and Abu Musa. It's another thing to try to protect them when you get into Hormuz and Iraq. Imagine, I mean, what are two ships going to be able to do when you get into such close quarters like
Especially if they know the map of the mines they've been laying too, they can really narrow down their actively guarded area. And
so, I mean, I think you are probably in a situation where you're going to have to live with and deal with the fact that the Gulf of Hormuz is going to be constricted until we finish this.
And let's not forget too, some ships have been braving the voyage too, and we got to give props to them, right, for keeping the oil flowing.
Some have, as we demonstrated last night, and Saudi Arabia has very resourcefully come up with pipelines.
The pipelines.
They've come up with pipelines that will allow them to probably offset about half. In other words, they'll be able to get about 50% of what they ordinarily get through to Asia. Remember, the oil going to Europe, the oil going to South America, and whatever oil comes to the United States or natural gas. I don't think we even get any natural gas, but if we do, none of that's in jeopardy. It's the oil going through the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea into the Indian Ocean and then over to Asia. The biggest country suffering from this would be China, but also India, other countries. So it is a major issue and factor. Faster you get the war over with, the faster you'll be able to restore it. And with the 400 million that 19 countries released in oil reserves and the 140 million that we released, that'll get you by without much of an impact, maybe 2 months.
Well, and eventually, if you end up bringing enough production online, once this whole thing gets settled,
right? The price of the gasoline is likely to go.
You know what? They need to start tooling up Venezuela. Let's get that over the finish line too.
We showed you last night what they've done in Saudi Arabia. You can see my little scratching there. Those are the pipelines that presently that either presently exist or are being refitted or cleaned up so they can handle a lot more. They're all operative, but they're going to have to handle 3-4 times more than they are normally expected to handle. So I think the president eased a lot of the burdens by putting 140 million barrels of oil on the table, but it will take a month for that to be actually out. But most countries have enough oil, natural gas that'll last them, if not an entire month, pretty close to it.
And then in the market, we'll price in the fact that that's coming online too. And that's actually why we probably haven't seen as big of a jump as at least I was expecting in the price of oil.
Well, it took that big jump over 100. Now it's down to the 80s and 90s.
And I think that's because people are, forming their expectations about the new supply that's coming on and other opportunities, and perhaps a demand softening a little bit in some of these areas.
It's 172 million barrels that we are going to release from our strategic reserve. Now, when we used to do this before, this was very, very dangerous because we weren't producing a lot of oil and natural gas. Now, We're not producing anywhere near the amount that we can, and Trump is building it up and building it up and building it up and making up for the damage that Obama and Biden did with their insane, corrupt green program, with their thinking that windmills could replace gasoline, gas, electricity. You know, it's really insane. China burns more coal than almost all of the European countries and America combined.
Oh, yeah.
And they also have nuclear power.
Well, and that's the other thing we have to remember about things here back at home too. We are expanding our energy capacity,
and we have to.
And we have, and it's been it's not a new project. The newness, it's been, revived under Trump, but we've been on this project to sort of reduce our dependence on Middle Eastern oil and oil from people that want to harm us, sometimes to our own detriment, right? Like we've had a lot of policies that we've had to impose on ourselves to accomplish that goal, but we've done it. And therefore we should, enjoy at least the benefits of that, right? And the ethanol stuff too, right? Like we went through a whole thing where we've created infrastructure to reduce our demand from these countries. But it's like, why didn't we just expand the capacity in the first place?
So, I mean, I don't know if we get information about what's going on, but in the last couple of days, there's been a pretty major terrorist effort against us.
That's right.
Right? You have what happened in New York, which was ISIS inspired. We know that for sure. We have what happened at Old Dominion University, which is ISIS inspired. So those are, I'm not saying the two people were connected, but it seems to me they were radicalized by the same group.
Right.
And they were killing for the same purpose, which is the purpose that is defined rather clearly in this book here called the Quran. And the third one, the attack in Michigan, we're still waiting. Why are they withholding the information?
Well, knowing these people, I think that they would want to just be a little bit more careful, right? And what you don't want to, the last thing you want to do is put it out and have it be wrong, right? And then confidence you'd lose all credibility if that happens. And we've had, we've seen enough of that.
But I just see this happen all the time. I see it happen all the time when the person who is the perpetrator is somebody that the media or some group that the media is prejudiced against. They will exaggerate it. They'll put it out. They'll make the person a lot worse than they are. And then when it happens to be one of their favorite groups, they think they can make it go away by hiding it.
Yep. But see, this situation is a little bit different, at least from the Michigan standpoint, where we have a Republican Oakland County sheriff there. And if he knew and wanted to tell us, if he was certain, he would have, right? And we would have been able to get that past the media, right?
It did look like he was dancing. I mean, I like him. I know him, but he did look like he was doing a tap dance.
Okay, yeah, and I think Ted was a little more impatient.
What do you think,
too.
Ted? I think he was doing a tap dance.
You think you're being a little impatient with Bouchard here?
Come on? I had that right, and we appreciate the sheriff. He's had a long, great career, Oakland County, but he never got to they never identified the person, and he kept telling us, we got to be careful. Like we get it, right? We know.
Find out for me who this jackass is. Here's the guy I want to know. The guy I want to know about is the state attorney.
Oh, we have that. Yep.
Who says that this was because of gun control?
Yep. We have that. Just give me a moment to bring that up. Maybe we can quickly go over the facts of what happened at Old Dominion today. So,
well, why don't you do it?
Okay, I'll do it. Yeah, sorry. I'm also. I want to get the clip ready.
Now we're talking about.
So we're switching over to Old Dominion.
Okay.
Let's update.
Why don't we take a short break?
Yeah, let's give us a second to regroup.
So that everybody can go buy what they're supposed to buy.
Right. Well,
we're not communists.
We got to pay the bills so we can bring you the latest news, even as it breaks.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. I don't know if you can hear in the background that Raleigh, our super dog, is I actually think I understood what he was saying. He was saying, Stephen, when are you going to take me out for a walk?
After we bring people the important news, I would say he knows he has an important job as my dog.
And he takes care of all of our dog news. So you should know that.
Where do you want to go to?
What was the purpose? What I want to do is talk about why the regime attacked. Is it 18 countries now that they've attacked?
Yeah.
And they're still doing it. They particularly are picking on Emirates and Bahrain, which are enemies of theirs, but not military. They're not removing a offensive threat, and every missile that they've used. Every missile that they've used to against Bahrain, against the Emirates, even against Saudi Arabia or Oman. Now they're even hitting Oman now. That's a missile they can't use against Israel or the United States.
But they want to make it so that their neighbors feel the pain of cooperating with the U.S. in any capacity, right? And they also need to have some successes. They can't have all of their missiles shot down and look like fools in front of their population. Right. So they need to hit some people. They need to make their neighbors feel the pain.
But it looks like the attack. It looks like, and I don't know how much truth we get. It looks like they're not having much more success there than they're having. They're doing some damage, but it's
well, maybe our friend.
They'll take out like 2 or 3 people. When we hit a place, we take out 100, 200, 300 people.
But they're also, it's about the sense of security that these people are feeling too. Like if in Dubai, for example, right? Yeah. Like used to be.
I guess we don't really know because we don't have. I'm not sure that we get solid information. I hope our government probably does. How are they being affected? I mean, you can have 1 or 2 reactions, right? One reaction is, please stop, get it over with, give them what they want. The other reaction is just destroy.
Can we just get these guys out of here? That might be one of the, and I bet if you poll it, I mean, like you said, you can't poll this thing really all that well.
I know the reaction of Bahrain. And the reaction of Bahrain, destroy them. They have been torturing Bahrain for 100 years, going back to the Shah. I mean, they believe that Bahrain belongs to. This is a little bit of a smaller version of Putin, Ukraine. They believe, if you look on a map, you'll see that it's much closer. It's closer.
Yeah,
we actually have some updates.
It's closer to Iran than it is.
Right.
It's closer to Iran than it is to Saudi Arabia. However, the Saudi Arabians settled it, and they really. Please, I hope the king is a friend of mine. Got a great picture with him. I'll see if I can find it.
Right.
I'm not going to say this. Make believe I didn't say this. They actually are ethnically Saudi Arabian. There's the king right there. They actually are Saudi Arabian. And they're very close to Saudi Arabia. It's a very close, warm relationship with Saudi Arabia, which makes it a very difficult relationship with Iran. And Iran has been torturing them all the time that I can remember. I mean, we did work. My security company did work for them to try to help them with being attacked by Iran, just indiscriminately. They just attack them.
That's
when
right.
They have nothing to do. They attack Bahrain.
Right. Well, maybe our next guest can fill us in on his thoughts here. Seena Saiedian. He is a current law student, I believe, at the University of Virginia, and he's a policy advocate for the Organization of Iranian American Communities. We've had him on before. Welcome back, Seena.
There you are.
How are you?
We had a great conversation about 4 or 5 days ago.
Yeah, it was. No, we last talked, I think, right before the strikes happened. Actually,
was it before? Was it before the? I don't know if we call it a war or whatever we call it. Hopefully, we call it March to Freedom. That's what I'd like to call it. Not even operation or whatever. I've been hoping for this for certainly for 15 years, maybe for 40. So tell me your observations from where you say, you talk to so many people that are
Yeah.
involved with this. It's very, very, and there are a lot of opinions you can have on this. I mean, it's a very fluid and difficult situation, but it seems to be going in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I would say off the top, I would say there's two main takeaways here. First is that for years, people like us, people like the Iranian resistance, have been saying that there's this false choice between war and appeasement, and that rather, if you keep appeasing this regime, the inevitable outcome is conflict. We had been seeing that for years and years as they kept chasing nuclear weapons, they kept proliferating ballistic missiles, creating drones that they shipped off to Russia, causing terrorism in the region. All of that has escalated to the point where now we've reached the brink of conflict. We've passed the brink of conflict. That's all a consequence of emboldening and appeasing the regime and ignoring the actual opposition on the ground. And so the second point is, now that we're here, where do we go? And yes, Khamenei is gone, but now supposedly his son has taken his place. The IRGC has been decimated, but the core of the regime is still there. And so the way we have to go from here is to actually recognize the Iranian people and empower them and support the Iranian resistance in their right to actually fight back and chart their future. Because, regime change, which is our, I think, end game here, is not going to come through external intervention. It's not going to come through airstrikes. Airstrikes may have weakened the infrastructure of the regime, but the true work is being done on
Absolutely
the ground
right.
by the Iranian people. And that's what we need to
I think that's exactly the right analysis and the way in which this all fits in. I think airstrikes and whatever other things can be done from the outside weakens the opposition, creates hopefully some destruction of morale and some rethinking by a lot of people of where they should go. But then there has to be a movement within that gets it done, and I think that's happening. I think that's happening. Maybe not as fast as people would like, but it never could have happened fast. I mean, this is a very
people need time to plan, and you have to consider the fact that the strikes are ongoing, and so it's much more difficult to actually mobilize on the spot when there is still ongoing military uncertainty. But to your point, I mean, you look a week, even less than a week before the initial strike that took out Khamenei, the MEK launched a major attack with, I think, over 250 or close to 250 armed individuals attacked that very same compound. And in fact, this morning, I think the MEK released the names of close to 150 individuals who were either arrested, captured, or killed during that operation. Their names, their locations, their ages. These are people ranging from young 20s all the way up to 50s, 60 years old people. This shows that this is a organized, capable movement to be able to actually infiltrate and get into clashes with the IRGC in Khamenei's compound the same week that the US and Israel initiated the strikes. I think shows that, like, to your point, there is an organized movement there. We just need to recognize it and recognize their rights.
Yeah, I think it was a day or two before that we hit the compound.
Yeah,
they were in the compound, did battle, lost, as you say, 100 or so people, either dead or captured. We don't know exactly how many IRGC members they were able to kill, but I noted in the Iranian sources from the government, one of them foolishly put out that they took heavy losses.
Yeah.
And they lie constantly. I mean, much like the Soviets and the Chinese, it's impossible to look at their numbers and ever believe it. So if they said heavy losses, they took heavy losses.
Yeah. And I think this is why it's critical for the administration and our international partners to pay attention to the MEK's role in this, because, I mean, better than anyone, since the early 2000s, it was the MEK and NCRI that exposed the nuclear program. They've been constantly calling the whistle on Iran's terrorist activities, their ballistic missiles programs. Time and time again, their predictions have been correct, and now they're actually organizing on the ground inside of the country. Shows that this is a credible force that the international community should recognize and keep its eye on.
Well, I think the MEK has certainly satisfied people that they are a major factor in getting us to where we are. Just a discovery back in 2002, 2003. That the regime was enriching uranium, which they denied, and which Europe denied originally, is a major factor.
Yeah.
But and that's been going on constantly. And even a few days before the 12-day war, the MEK was able to discover and make public all of the activity in the Parchin Desert in which they were expanding the missiles.
Yeah.
So, but I think the part that has to be understood and that people don't recognize completely is that there is a whole big group through the NCRI that's ready to transition the government.
Correct. And they announced
that's ready to make the trains run and the milk get delivered and the police function, which we didn't have in Iraq.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the really major differences between this and Iraq.
Yeah, and I would say the distinction that it's important for people to recognize is you've got the MEK, which is the core engine of actually fighting against the IRGC, toppling the regime from within. But then you've got this broader political coalition of the NCRI, which obviously includes the MEK, but also includes other representatives from other groups that has, like you said, a long-standing political charter that makes clear their goals. They have institutions that pretty much look like a full-on government in exile, prepared with this 6-month transition plan that they announced in the form of their provisional government announced by Mrs. Rajavi on the day that Khamenei was taken out, showing kind of a roadmap for how to facilitate the transition to free and fair elections after the collapse of the regime. So these two parts both go hand in hand, and I think that's critical in that you both need the ground game to actually topple the regime, but you also need the organizational capability and the international support to actually facilitate that change. And all of that exists under this one umbrella of the NCRI and MEK.
So how many people are there? I mean, how many people are there like you?
What do you mean by that?
Americans who are so strongly dedicated to freedom for Iran and to making Iran a democracy, a government. I mean, you're supporting a movement that would have the transition run by a woman.
Yeah.
In a country that tortures women.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why it isn't described that way.
Yeah.
But, I've been involved with Iran since the Ayatollah took over in 80. And I don't know if there's a country on earth that treats women worse, even China, than Iran.
Well, I mean, look,
I think what it is. I mean, they hate women.
Yeah. Well, I think if you look at the events that the Organization of Iranian American Communities, but also the NCR and the MEK themselves put on, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in America, it draws crowds of tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of supporters. Most recently, the massive rally that you live streamed, I think it was in Brussels, with 100,000, probably more people there in that crowd. But you also look into Congress too. I mean, there's been multiple bipartisan resolutions with a majority of support in the House of Representatives, recognizing the National Council of Resistance of Iran, recognizing Mariam Rajavi's 10-point plan, shows that there is massive recognition of the organizational capability and their missions and broad-based support for it. And I think that's really the critical point that the administration needs to pick up as well, to supplement the pressure on the regime with support for the people and their right to resist, as well as recognition that there is an alternative on the ground. And I think that is actually in line with what the administration has been talking about, in that they want to look for someone inside of Iran who can actually mobilize change. They're not looking to fly in someone like the son of the Shah. They're looking for true partners on the ground. That exists in the form of the MEK.
I noticed they refer to the new Ayatollah as the Nepo Ayatollah.
Yeah.
Before that, I was referring to the Shah as the little baby Nepo Shah.
Yeah.
Because he has no other claim to being Shah other than the fact that he's the son of a murderer and a crook.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, so he wants to run the country because his daddy killed and tortured not quite as many Iranians as the Ayatollah, but a fair number.
Tried to.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny that President Trump a few days ago in a press conference referred to him as the son of the Shah, because to your point, that is all he is he's trying to ride his father's old throne.
I don't know if there's a full realization of just how bad that regime was, the Shah's regime, but there is a realization. Even people I was talking to last night that have known him in America, that he's a real lightweight, right?
Yeah,
that was their comment. They said he can't run a government. He's a lightweight.
Yeah. And so, fortunately, the administration seems to recognize that and not want to work with that. And I think
it would be a terrible. I mean, among other things, it's insane to go back
to the previous regime. Yeah.
It's the previous dictator. Oh, gee, let's go back to the previous dictator.
Yeah.
It would be as if we brought Batista's son back
Yeah.
in Cuba, right?
Yeah.
Let's put Batista in. So he can. Castro tortured his number of people. Now he can come back and torture people.
Yeah. So that's why I think it's critical for the administration to keep an eye out to the future and recognize that there is the force on the ground in the form of the MEK that's been, even in the midst of the strikes, mobilizing acts of defiance. We see everywhere. Just a couple of hours, I think, after Khamenei was taken out, I started seeing videos of people putting out banners in the streets. You see motorcycle parades. You see people showing off weapons, actually saying that we stand ready to fight for the MEK. Once the time is ready, we're going to actually take over these institutions. And so I think that that is the real missing pillar here, is to pay attention to the resistance in there, because that's the end game. I mean, if you have a situation where you hollow out the regime, you weaken their infrastructure, but the core of the regime stays in place, 5, 10, 15 years from now, again, you're going to be drawn into these conflicts again, because that is the MO of this regime, is to go back to nuclear weapons, go back to terrorism and the things that they've been doing for the past 40 years. So if you need to embrace true regime change, and that comes from the organized resistance inside of the country.
I know this is difficult to assess, but what's your sense of what they have left?
Of the regime?
Yeah, I mean, how they've been hit very, very hard. Their number of missiles has dwindled, I don't know, about 80%, 70, 80%.
Yeah.
They got to run out pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, there's no way to really tell. The fact that the internet's been shut off for so long means it's difficult to get reliable information. But I think there's a reason why the NCRI chose to announce the provisional government when Khamenei was taken out, because I think this really is a turning point. The regime is significantly weaker than it was. The IRGC is dwindling down all of its forces, all of its personnel. And I think it's only a matter of time that you're going to see small-scale skirmishes escalate rapidly. That's why, I mean, we saw the large attack on the actual Khamenei compound, but you can see that also happening from a small scale, where you have individual cities where little cells of the resistance units go take over a police station, go get into small clashes with a military compound here or there, establishing an actual base of operation in one area, and you can escalate upwards very easily. And you get to a lynch point where the people of the IRGC that are left are going to look out and say, this regime is not lasting any longer. We don't want to go down with the ship. We're going to lay down our arms. And that's pretty much how revolutions tend to happen. You can never predict the exact roadmap, but that's basically it. You have small scale clashes. It gets to a point where the foot soldiers say, we're not in it anymore. There's nothing in it for us. And then everything collapses like a dominoes after that.
Well, God bless you, and thank you very, very much. Keep yourself safe, huh?
And thank you for your support. We'll keep an eye on
anything we can do. This is a great endeavor. It's a great opportunity to bring freedom to a country that has suffered for 100 years or maybe more, and a country with tremendous, tremendous potential. See a young man like that, and you've seen we've had on any number, right, of Iranian Americans, Ted.
Right.
From
Mickey
from
was just in town.
From scholars and scientists to
Future scholars.
to college students, right?
College students, future scholars.
Yeah.
If everything goes right.
So it's a very, very robust community, and a community that wants freedom.
Future leaders of Iran, let's call it.
Yeah. Yeah, who understand freedom and democracy and understand what it takes.
Well, CENTCOM put out an update on military operations in Iran. Do we want to maybe play a minute or two of that?
Yeah, why don't we?
All right, so this is Admiral Bradley Cooper with U.S. Central.
Isn't he an actor?
Command.
Bradley Cooper? No, that's some.
I'm Admiral Brad Cooper here at United States Central Command, where I'm leading the forces executing Operation Epic Fury. First, I want you to know we continue to keep the families of our fallen heroes and our wounded teammates in our thoughts and prayers. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the families of the 50,000 American servicemen and women deployed in and around the Middle East. I'm grateful for your selfless sacrifice, and I know that Americans across the country hold you in their hearts. Let me start by offering my overall assessment of Operation Epic Fury. In short, U.S. forces continue delivering devastating combat power against the Iranian regime. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. U.S. combat power is building, Iranian combat power is declining. And we remain centered on very clear military objectives in eliminating Iran's ability to project power against Americans and against its neighbors. Every day, we're striking hard at Iranian ballistic missile and drones. To date, we have struck more than 5,500 targets inside Iran, including more than 60 ships, using a variety of precision weapon systems. Just yesterday, we had strike waves nearly every hour from different locations and directions going into Iran. We also took out the last of 4 Soleimani-class warships. That's an entire class of Iranian ships now out of the fight. I'd characterize our strikes as being unpredictable, dynamic, and decisive. Since the first 24 hours of this campaign, Iranian ballistic missile and drone attacks have dropped drastically. But it's worth pointing out that Iranian forces continue to deliberately target innocent civilians in Gulf countries while hiding behind their own people as they launch attacks from highly populated cities in Iran. Of course, forces executing Operation Epic Fury aren't just defending against Iranian threats. We are methodically dismantling them by hitting Iranian missiles and drones, as we also strike their defense industrial base. Just last night, our bomber force hit a large ballistic missile manufacturing facility, as an example. So it's not just about what's shooting at us today, it's also about eliminating the threat in the future. Now, let me show you a few of the results from the tremendous efforts by America's joint force. Here, you see an Iranian Jamaran-class warship, a large patrol ship, a drone smuggling vessel, and 4 other surface combatants docked at Chabahar port in the Gulf of Oman the day before we launched Operation Epic Fury. Here's the same pier 4 days later, all ships taken out of action. This Bayandar-class surface ship was hit and rolled on its side. Here's another example. Here you see 2 Iranian surface combatants docked at an Iranian naval base near the Strait of Hormuz, just hours into the campaign. And here's what they looked like 3 days later, engulfed in flames after we struck them with a precision weapon. For years, the Iranian regime has threatened commercial shipping and U.S. forces in international waters. Our mission is to end their ability to project power and harass shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. From the air, we've achieved a concentration of air power with back-to-back waves of advanced fighters creating constant pressure on the enemy every single day. Our dominance is not a solo effort, it's a testament to the strength of our ironclad alliances. We continue to coordinate closely and effectively with Israel in this very large operation, and we are also coordinating and serving side by side with all of our partners in the Middle East. We're on a path to eliminating Iran's ability to threaten Americans and our friends, and we are achieving this through a combination of lethality, precision, and rapid innovation. Let me highlight a few examples, at least the ones that aren't classified, of how we are achieving lethal effects in entirely new ways. First, our warfighters are leveraging a variety of advanced AI tools. These systems help us sift through vast amounts of data in seconds, so our leaders can cut through the noise and make smarter decisions faster than the enemy can react. Humans will always make final decisions on what to shoot and what not to shoot, and when to shoot. But advanced AI tools can turn processes that used to take hours, sometimes even days, into seconds. I continue to be impressed with all the branches of the U.S. military. The entire team is performing superbly. Strike operations from our joint force continue, as I've said. I assess that we are clearly exercising air superiority over vast swaths of Iran.
I mean, what's his rank? What was his rank?
I believe that's Admiral.
Admiral. I would follow him any place.
Right.
Doesn't he look? I mean,
He looks the part.
He is the part, by the way. So I'm not trying to in any way minimize this, but the guy looks like he. I mean, if they do a movie about this, he could play. He could play himself.
Well, and you have to appreciate clear and concise communication, right? And like a good
but
presentation.
if they do a movie about, this whole thing, which they should, it should be a movie. Like, well, they've done movies about Entebbe, and they've done movies about the botched up Benghazi situation.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah.
13 hours. I recommend that one hard. 13 hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi.
13 hours was the amount of time that Obama was sleeping.
Oh yeah. And Clinton.
They didn't want to wake him up.
Mm-hmm.
And Clinton didn't want to admit it because she's the one who couldn't lie to her tushy off about that, because she was the one who authorized it and didn't protect them. So, I mean, the real tragedy with Benghazi is they sent the ambassador and his 2 people there, and the place had been attacked over and over and over and over again. They had asked for just minimum reinforcements and a couple other, and Clinton wouldn't give them shit.
And the State Department too. They had resources nearby. Another, secret compound that
here's why I want to trouble. I shouldn't say that, but having handled emergencies, having taught emergencies, having written up emergency plans. So when they first heard about it, they did nothing. And the reason they did nothing was the president said, we didn't have enough time. Now, please think about this. Logic, we've lost logic. How do you know how much time you have at the beginning of an emergency? You don't know when it's over. They took hostages, right? It could have been for a week, could have been for 2 weeks, could have been for a year and a half, like the hostages they took before. The only time you know you don't have enough time is when it's over.
Exactly.
So what I'm building up to is they just were lazy and didn't give a damn. Because what should have happened is every resource we had should have been heading in that direction. And then if, God forbid, they had to tell you, well, you didn't make it in time. But when I would hear that there was a terrible September 11th, we sent everybody there. Everybody headed there, right? Yeah. First thing we did is tell everybody to come back to work. The police department, the fire department was completely mobilized. Now, maybe we didn't need that. Well, we did, but maybe it would have turned out we didn't need it.
Right.
But you don't know at the beginning of an emergency that you don't have enough time. So that was a complete lie that the Congress accepted, that the press accepted, and allowed that whatever Obama, I have no idea what Obama was.
Well, in this context, holy smokes. He's someone who gave billions of dollars to someone who we are currently at war with.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. The stuff that they get away with just boggles the mind.
And the Democrats generally, too. You just hear story after story of them getting in trouble for having Iranian security contractors or IT consultants that turn out to be the enemy, right? And they one time after another, right? And it's like, who are you in bed with? What side are you on at this point?
So I had dinner, as I said last night, with two former New Yorkers like me. And they actually, one of them did know, the other didn't know, and he was shocked. He's a very, very successful businessman. I said, do you have any idea that the budget of New York City, which has 8.5 million people, with probably maybe 300,000 or 400,000 moving right now, right? Here. And both of these guys moved from New York with their families. And one of them is a guy like me who said until 2-3 years ago, I couldn't imagine living anyplace else.
Well, in your heart, right? We were talking about it in the earlier show, right? You're in New York.
Like there are times I wake up, I wake up and I hear that something happened. Like when the protest happened
and the bombing.
Yeah, I said, I can go there. I'll go there, and I'll help. And I'm saying, how can I go there? I've got to take a plane. It's gonna be 3 hours.
Well, and then look,
sometimes I still think I'm in New York.
What I remember of you when you saw that, you're like, holy, that was your old neighborhood, right?
I want you to think about this if you're anywhere 30 or older, okay? Go back to some place that you lived for a lengthy period of time. That you live. So I lived in the neighborhood in which that happened for 8 years as mayor, and before that, for 10 years. Because before I became mayor, I had a condo or co-op in New York. They're called co-ops, 4 blocks away from Gracie Mansion. So my children, Andrew and Caroline, from the time they were born, would play in the same park they played in when I was mayor. It was the same, and I kept the same friends, and it was all the kids moved in the Gracie Mansion. It was fabulous for them. It wasn't so good for Gracie Mansion. I had to repay the city a lot of money for the stuff they brought. When Andrew tried to get himself on the chandelier, that was like one of the really.
Ooh.
Oh, how about the first or second night we're there, right?
Right.
Place is empty. We're moving in. There's still a Christmas tree there because it's right after Christmas, and they still have to have the Three Kings celebration. And Daddy and Andrew decided to throw a football around in the ballroom because we never had a big ballroom before, right? Now we have this big ballroom. We can play indoor football. Andrew throws right through one of the chandeliers. Oh my gosh. His mom got so upset.
And I'm sure it was from like the Astor
No,
family.
we didn't break it. Thank God we didn't break it. Thank God. And the other thing that would have gotten us away with it is we didn't have any of the dishes, or certainly Dickens stole it all.
Oh my goodness. Well, wait, here's another question.
And
So
I was told at the time, don't say it, or it'll sound bad.
Yeah.
And it'll sound like you're attacking him because he's black. I'm not attacking because he's black. I'm attacking because he's a crook.
yeah.
He was a big crook. He took $1 million for inner city broadcasting.
Yeah. So have you seen, when you were watching, say, the coverage of the bombing, did you see, has the neighborhood changed at all? Has Gracie Mansion changed at all? Does it feel?
Not from what I saw. I've been back in that area and it has changed a bit, but the parts that I saw are still pretty much the same buildings. Some of the buildings are right across the street from Gracie Mansion. They were standing on the other side. They were standing on the other side of the street from the gate of Gracie Mansion. And Gracie Mansion really is part of a park. It's part of a park called the Carl Schurz Park. And, or really the other way around. The Carl Schurz Park Gracie Mansion was there before the park.
Right.
Gracie Mansion was built by a gentleman named Archibald Gracie. He was a merchant. And remember, New York was a merchant city. Merchant meaning he traded with Europe. And he would probably sold furs that came down from Canada. Right. Sold liquor. He sold everything. But he was a close friend and business partner of Alexander Hamilton.
Yes.
And Archibald Gracie is one of the 4 founders of the New York Post.
Right.
Number 2 is Alexander Hamilton. And so it was built in 1799, 1800. Hamilton died in the duel with Burr probably in about 1803. So he didn't have a lot of time to spend, but he would come and visit Archibald Gracie at Gracie Mansion, and there are texts that explain when he was there. And Gracie would go and visit him at a place you can go look at, which was Hamilton's house, which is closer to Harlem.
How is it? What's Hamilton's place like?
Very similar. They were Hamilton's place is a little more of a mansion because this was Archibald Gracie's second house. His main house was down on Wall Street. This was his summer house.
Crazy.
It must have taken a day. I don't know how long it would take. What do you think it would take to have gone 7 or 8 miles
on horseback? You could do horse in a day
less
depending on the roads, right? But I think they had pretty good roads.
Yeah, but probably like a trip to the Hamptons. But remember, it was on a beach. So before they put in the FDR Drive, which you drive on, if you've ever come to New York, you've driven on it because you're coming from the airport that way. The FDR Drive didn't exist in colonial times, didn't exist at the beginning of the 20th century. It was a beach, a big beach right on the East River. So this was a beach home. And he built it as a 3-bedroom beach home. And then he built it and built it and built it. And then he sold it and they built it and built it. And it became what I would describe, if you want to really explain it, a mini mansion. And to see that guy that was there the other night with Bandani, who hates America, loves Hamas, hates Jewish people, to see him there was a desecration of all that history, that beautiful history. And Alexander Hamilton has to be looking for his gun. People say he fired first and deliberately didn't hit Burr because it was supposed to be a gentleman's duel. Gentleman's duel, I fire here, you fire there, and then we all make believe that we were very brave and we don't kill each other. Now, Burr either didn't or made a mistake. And I guess we'll never know.
Oh yeah.
But this is why our history is so great. These men were unbelievable people, like the people we have now. Look how lucky we are to have Trump and to have Pete Hegseth and to have Marco Rubio, Admiral Cooper. You can see that's a gifted man. I mean, and he's the kind of man you'd follow in a battle because he knows how to explain to you what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
So we have to have a conversation before we we've been talking about it on and off for a few days, and that's the SAVE Act. But even more important, the whole issue of this filibuster and the 60 votes.
Right.
Does anybody want to explain it so I can rest my voice for a minute? What because they used to be, and I think Americans, old Americans will remember this from the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which James Cooper? No. I've forgotten who played in Mr. Smith Went to Washington. One of the great actors. Well, in any event, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He's a very idealistic Middle Western guy who doesn't realize how corrupt Washington is, and then he has a bill to really help people, and they won't pass it, and he does a filibuster. Now, filibusters are done away with, and they have the 60 vote rule instead. Do you want to explain it, or do you want?
Well, we can talk about the 60 vote rule as well as the filibuster overall and the timing of it, which is, I think, what we're kind of having to calculate, right? And it's like, do we, while we have the opportunity, get rid of it, which is meant to be sort of a deliberate.
They're all seeing you. To your girlfriend.
No, I'm actually posting.
I know you are. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, no, it just shows how busy he is, right? Like, look at, he runs the show basically, from the computer here and gets you all the clips and everything.
He's a magician.
It's a team effort.
He's Ted the magician.
It's a team effort. So so this filibuster situation.
In the middle of all this, we should have shot. 3 beautiful young ladies came in to say hello to Ted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Say hi to me or the mayor, right?
No, they didn't even look at me. They're looking at him.
Yeah.
And
these are professional.
We should have put them on. I mean, they were lovely.
Smart young women in graduate school. Yeah, we'll probably get them involved.
Very politically
astute and involved. But they had a dinner, so.
But back to the filibuster.
They just wanted to look at him.
Yeah.
Back to the filibuster, though. So there is something to be said about being a deliberative body and about not having mob rule, right? Where you have a simple majority that's able to sort of kind of commandeer the resources and rights of people. However, right now, it's created a lot of gridlock in a Congress that can't really do much. And timing wise, it's impossible, right? It's a heavy lift doing anything. And plus, if we see by like the way that they do budgets and things, it's an impossible body. However, this is what we need to remember too. There is a reason for the filibuster, and there is a reason that we keep it. And I admire the reason of having a deliberative body that is not necessarily a mob rule situation.
So should we go back to that? Go back? Well, here's the argument, right? Trump could get everything he wants if they did away with the 60 vote rule. And the 60 vote rule is the rule that makes up for the fact that they did away with the filibuster. So
it's to overcome it.
You can no longer completely delay a vote by a filibuster because you got to get 60 on certain, with a few exceptions. Right. So if they do away with it, then you can pass it with 51 votes.
Yep.
Now, here's the real calculation, and boy, I don't know the answer to it. That has protected us against Obama moving us even closer to communism.
Yep.
And Biden taking us all the way over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
Biden was worse than Obama.
Well, think about giving a Democrat majority or in both houses, and then they want to make whatever socialist
51-49 Democrat majority that wants to do for America what Mondani is doing for New York.
Exactly.
How about all free grocery stores? Grocery stores will no longer be private; they'll be run by.
But now here's the other thing,
the Department of Grocery Stores in Washington.
This is the other problem, though. When they do take control, if that ever happens, why don't they just get rid of it, right? And so it's like if we don't get rid of it, they're going to get rid of it eventually.
I think that's what our MAGA people say. Our MAGA people say, "Damn it, just do away with it because this is a sucker's bet you're involved in. Mm-hmm. You're thinking of the old Democrat Party and Republican Party, where both of them would preserve this, recognizing what we recognize, right? But now you've got Democrats that are a group of nihilists and communists and who knows what the hell they are. And even if they can get 4 years where they can do everything they want, they figure they can ruin us.
Oh, yeah. Irreparable harm. And that is why there is an advantage to having a bicameral legislature where they do have to debate and things. But our world is changing quite rapidly.
We still don't have the Senate. We still have the Senate to protect us.
Well,
maybe.
Sure.
Maybe.
In terms of how long are we going to have the Senate to protect us? We don't know. But see, that's the thing. It's a norm. It's not a law. It's not a statute, right? Like, I don't know. But they see themselves as the deliberative body, and a lot of them want to preserve that.
So here's one of those things.
Cornyn. Where's Cornyn at with it, right? Like,
Cornyn now has changed. But here's some of the things they can do and can't do. If he could do the 51 state thing, they could do their changing of the Supreme Court by a 51 vote. They could say there should be 25 members of the Supreme Court, and the next Democrat communist president could appoint, 10 members, and then they could decide that basically Democrats have the right to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but Republicans are assumed to be guilty.
And that's like hyperbole, right? But that would be the effect if they.
Well, they actually did that.
Yeah, well, true. But
they didn't call it that, but they actually did it.
Right.
People don't recognize it, but they did. But in any event, I used to always be a lot more respectful of this, because certainly going back to the Reagan era, the Clinton era, even the Bush era, I was very glad that we had it during Obama. But now I think the Democrat Party is not trustworthy. I mean, I think it's an evil, I'm sorry, I think it's an evil party. And I think they're going to do it. So we might as well get through what we can and fight politically to hold on.
And put some protections in place.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
Yeah, but because you always reap what you sow, right?
I'm usually very confident. I'm usually very sure. I'm very. This is very tough. It's much tougher than you think. I mean, no, probably not. But it's much tougher than a lot of the ideologues think, and most people don't think. Most people just fill in whatever fits their. So all the MAGA people say, "Do away with it." So. Do away with it. All the left-wing people say, don't do away with it, so don't do it.
And it's so easy for like academics, say, to want to preserve the filibuster, right? We have institutional norms and, the types in Washington.
Look, I get what the president's position on this, right? And I think it's a common the common push and pull. I'm sure you dealt with it as mayor of New York City, right? Where you have certain things you want to get done. You're the executive in that position for a certain number of years. You're term limited. Where these senators oftentimes are there 30, 40 years. I'm not picking sides on this, right? Just pointing out that these senators have, they care more about the institutional.
And they have that self-importance, right?
Yeah.
It's like they are a member of it.
Where a president, look, he's there 4, maybe 8, in this case 3 years. He wants to get a lot of things done. and that so he prioritizes that more than the
institutional norms that are
norms and
crumbling anyway, right?
processes, right? Which the Democrats could care less
Yeah.
about anyway.
Chad,
Yeah.
what you're saying. 20 years ago, I'd agreed with. 30 years ago,
You dealt with it as mayor, right? You had a city council, and
but is there any reliance on that anymore? I mean, that what that relies on is we're not going to when we become the majority, we're not going to take away this right they have to protect themselves. The minority has to protect themselves against an oppressive majority.
right,
And we'll have has to be 60 votes, not 51.
right.
And we're going to respect that. And then when you come into office, you're going to respect the same thing.
Oh, and people have lost all.
So
faith in
here's
that.
what I believe. Just that doesn't exist anymore. They don't. We do respect it. That's why we're having this battle.
Right. Right.
And it's very hard to say because we are better than they are. We're not perfect. We're not great. We're not terrific. We're just not evil like they are. They are absolute. Now maybe it's because of what they did to me and what I've seen, looking in their eyes. But these are evil people.
That's right.
I mean,
That's a good point, Mayor. It is a different time.
these are people who sell out our country for money.
It is a different
And then
They elected a president who was paid off by Red China.
right.
and what's to say 51 is not the right answer, right? Overall, right? Just a simple majority. Like why wouldn't that be the right answer? And I guess it is to have a broader consensus and prevent that like faction from oppressing the others. But how oppressive is 51 as opposed to 60?
Well, it is. I mean, when you consider that it's very, very hard for either party. The Democrats came really close to having 60 under Obama. But it's very hard to see in modern America how either party can get to 60 votes. In the
See,
Senate.
here's the thing. This
Don't you think, Ted?
exercise.
I mean, can you see a time in the next 10 years that either party could get to 60 votes?
10 years? Very unlikely.
Yeah.
We're volatile though.
Very unlikely, right? When's the last? That's a good
How about
question.
this?
When is the last time one of the parties had 60
It
votes?
was
in the
almost
Senate?
during Obama, as we were saying.
Yeah, I think they were 58, 59.
Really?
To tell you the truth, this
I'll look back at
exercise, this discussion is actually helping
And
me
they-
lean towards the 60. I kind of like
And
having
they,
the 60.
they used to have a little more popular support than we do. I'm not sure they do now. We're almost. I mean, we may have a little more. The last 3 or 4 polls that were taken, the single most unpopular political movement in this country are the congressional Democrats.
Oh yeah, and the
Yes,
woke
yes,
stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
They're less popular than the congressional Republicans, the Senate Republicans. They're less popular than Trump. They are the people that America disrespects. They distrust them even more than the media. But just think of them when you watch them. They're a bunch of little snakes.
Yeah, but they do have institutional backing in a lot of
They got the
ways.
press.
Yeah, and they have a faction, and they have some districts are just written.
I think if
Drawn that way.
they had a press that was fair and equal, they would have to have reformed themselves. They'd have been forced to make the changes. But the press no longer exercises the role of holding government, holding your feet to the fire.
Oh no, it's in on the scam half the time,
Yeah,
more than half.
that's right. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Senator Cornyn is making a political move here. I almost wish he would just say so. As you said, why not just tell?
You wish what?
Like you said, Senator Cornyn is clearly supporting something in hopes of getting that endorsement from President Trump, and it would be embarrassing to just flat out say that.
I mean, I like Ken Paxton very, very much, and I feel close to him because he was there during the 2020 election,
Right.
And he helped us, and he had a case that was thrown out by the Supreme Court that is completely dishonest, where 16, 17 attorneys general of these states sued the other states. That case has to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said,
Oh yeah.
gosh almighty, a political question. I don't want to decide it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Nobody is more important than preserving this country, including me or anybody else. And we can't let them get control of the Senate. If they get control of the Senate, they may very well throw Trump out.
Now, are we still on Texas here?
Well, no, they can't. They can't throw Trump out because you need a 2/3 vote to win to throw a president out.
But then are we saying that? So what's the calculus here? I think we're going to win the election, whether it's Paxton or Cornyn, right?
Are you sure? Ted?
Yes.
Are you sure we'll win? Suppose Paxton beats Cornyn in the primary.
Right.
Whether the president endorses, doesn't endorse, but just suppose Paxton wins and it's Paxton against
Tallarico.
But I mean, we elected Mandami. I look at that guy and I say, who the hell's going to elect this chump?
Well, here's the thing: it's a Hispanic last name in Texas, right? So there is a built-in
Hispanic or Italian.
What is Tallarico? I thought it sounds enough. It sounds close enough to me.
It could be Spanish.
I was going to say Spanish is where I go.
Tallarico.
Yeah, it has to. You say it's Spanish because he's from Texas.
No.
If
Spain
he was from New
as
York,
in Spain and Italy, yeah.
if he were from New York, you would say it was Italian.
Tallarico? What is that? Tallarico's Italian last name?
Yeah, that could be
I actually don't. I think more Spain. It's one of those names that I actually could fit in. Yeah.
What an advantage! Maybe that's his whole
Tallarico
shtick, right?
could be a few different
It's
things.
ambiguous.
The Tallarico is we knew in New Hampshire. I don't remember what remember we stayed at a. Anyway,
we're gonna.
If Paxton wins, first of all, Trump's endorsement is likely determinative, right? Of who's going to win this.
Yeah.
Which is why I have to believe the president's going to endorse. He likes
Is he actually going to do it?
I have a feeling he was close to endorsing Cornyn, and somehow maybe he was open to the. I heard some Paxton people, and I know some of these folks. Their argument is look at how close we came to Cornyn, and the amount of money spent per vote, right?
Well, I mean, he
Paxton's
has to feel more of an affinity and
really
loyalty to Paxton than he does to Cornyn.
Yes.
On the other hand, if he evaluates it the way you do, he then feels that Cornyn has the better chance of winning.
In the general or in the primary?
In the general.
In the general.
In the general, I think it goes without saying that Cornyn is, and look, this is nothing against Paxton. I don't have a dog in this fight. I understand that a lot of folks are upset with Cornyn on a number of issues. However, just looking at the race, right? Cornyn likely overperformed from where a lot of folks were saying, right? People were saying Paxton's going to win this, Paxton's going to win this, which probably kept the president from endorsing Cornyn even earlier. And Paxton right now is dealing with, and what a terrible thing for her to do, but his wife is divorcing him in the middle of his campaign on biblical grounds. I can't imagine that's a great thing to be dealing with, although over 50% of marriages now end in divorce. And I think we live in a more accepting society, right? Where it's different now than even 20, 30 years ago, right? The idea of divorce, a lot of folks go through it. Our own president,
right?
Right. It's almost relatable in a way. So, but still, it doesn't sound the best, right? When your wife is divorcing you on biblical grounds.
Let's reframe it a little bit and say Paxton almost beat an incumbent senator, right? And so that on its own is almost a chip, a feather in his.
All things being equal, I lean toward Paxton.
Right.
Yes.
But Paxton's a statewide
on
name,
the other
right?
hand, he also was an attorney general, a statewide attorney general,
right?
Elected twice.
In the state,
which is
his
why
name ID is high.
Which is why Stephen may not be so far off that he could win. He could win it too.
Oh, if Paxton beats Cornyn, I would say Paxton wins.
There we go.
Yeah, of course. Very likely that Paxton would win.
Do you want to hear the Grok answer to whether it's Italian or
Yes.
And we like Grok. We trust Grok.
Reliable sources on surname origins, including Ancestry.com, Family Search, GeniaNet, Wikipedia, and 23andMe ancestry data consistently classified as Italian.
Oh.
It derives from the medieval personal name Tallaricus, or similar variants like Athalaric and Athalarico, which come from ancient Germanic elements meaning something like noble power. The name is particularly associated with southern Italy, especially regions like Calabria and Sicily, where many bearers trace their roots It's common among Italian-American families today and notable people with the surname, and they are typically Italian. There's no evidence linking it to Spanish origins. Spanish surnames often have different patterns. Example, in EZ for patronymics, or roots in Arabic Castilian words. Remember, because they were controlled by the Moors for about 200 years.
But if you want to go like the Latin base, basically,
Any
right?
overlapping sound might come from shared Romance language influences or Germanic roots in medieval Europe. But the surname itself is distinctly Italian.
But okay, but here's the thing.
Why don't we ask the question? Is he? They probably know.
Yes.
Why don't you ask the question?
But here's the thing. Here's what.
If he's Italian, what's his heritage?
Here's what really matters, though. Will these voters, low information voters, think that or make them, inference like, oh, this guy's more Hispanic sounding than Paxton, who sounds like more waspy, right?
Look, the idea is,
and I don't want to cheapen the electorate that much.
Look, the idea is that Cornyn is the safe bet. He's been in office. He's shown that he's won repeatedly in this position for U.S. Senate. And by the way, right, once you get out of the primary, you often want a candidate that's not simply seen as Trump's guy, right?
But somebody Trump is happy about.
Yeah, of course, right. You want someone who Trump's happy with because you want to get his voters. And so if the president endorses Cornyn, it's over. If the president endorses Paxton, it's over. I agree that both men would beat this James Tallarico guy. I do think with Paxton, it might be a little bit closer because of what the media has done to Ken Paxton. This isn't me saying it, right? But whether we like it or not, the way the media
they've invested a lot in destroying his reputation.
Right.
And as we found out with John McCain, they'll go after Cornyn. All of a sudden, if it's Cornyn will become
right.
Well, and look what they did to help Tallarico too.
Cornyn will become a guy who flew on Epstein's plane 14 times.
Right. And Tallarico, we already see the media was helping Tallarico in the primary.
Oh my Lord!
With that CBS nonsense with Stephen Colbert. I mean that, right? I didn't know who Tallarico was. Well, I guess we did know.
First
we've
name
heard
is
of him. James Tallarico.
And it'll be harder to beat
the
him
fake pastor
than Crockett would have been, right?
Right. Crockett.
She's insane.
Yeah, she's
I think every Republican in Texas
wanted Crockett. And Tallarico,
honestly, just for the entertainment factor, it might have been more fun to have Crockett in.
For us, right? For the show.
He's no fun.
He's
he's really weird.
No, Tallarico is
weird.
He's weird, but come on, we've got some good stuff on him.
He's great for attacking, but he's more like a Martian.
Oh yeah, kind of like an odd guy. Like you almost feel bad hitting him.
Weird cadence.
It's kind of strange. You get more confused than anything. This guy's Texas. They really thought
his father was Italian.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
His surname Tallarico is of Italian origin. Reporting about his family notes the Italian ancestry from his father's side. His mother's background is typically described as Anglo-American, European-American. He was a former public school teacher.
Man, I'm surprised he made it in the Democratic Party today.
Being a former public school teacher, an education advocate.
Oh,
frequently speaking on issues involving education, democracy, and religion and politics. Oh, come on, give me a break.
Oh yeah, that is right. He does have a lot of controversial religious clips that he said. What was he saying about Jesus being a radical feminist? Which
Well, now is he
at the time
a Roman Catholic?
Oh, I bet. If not, I bet he changed.
He doesn't sound like it. Boy, he sounds like some kind of weird cult religion.
Or like a weird part of,
No.
What is he?
Some kind of esoteric, generalized Christian. He studied theology,
which I can appreciate. Let's not,
In recent years, he enrolled in Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary, which is associated with the Presbyterian Church. He has said he pursued theologic studies because he's interested in ministry and the relationship between faith and public life. It says here, he's a practicing Christian, not publicly identified as Roman Catholic. And his theological training is connected with Presbyterian Protestant institutions.
Well, that's actually, that plays in Texas.
Yeah. He doesn't sound like much of a theologian to me, but having studied
Well,
theology,
he fancied himself one.
No, he sounds like a total jackass. I mean, he never read the first book of Genesis. I mean, he has real trouble with the fact that there were, God made it so clear that there were only two sexes. He said it twice.
Yeah.
He said, I've created the man and go look at Genesis. It says, I've created the man and woman. And then there's a comma. And it says, man and woman, I created them. That was so jackasses like Justice Jackson wouldn't be confused about what's a man or what's a woman. And whether you like it or not, there are two sexes. What you want to do with that is another thing. If you think you're a cat, I'm sorry, it's a mental illness. If you're a man or a woman and you think you're a cat, it's a mental illness. You got to get it treated. You shouldn't get all chopped up or,
A fur transplant.
hormonized.
A tail.
Yeah, and they
addition.
shouldn't bring you a litter box in your kindergarten class.
It's crazy that actually happened.
It actually does happen. I mean, it actually does happen.
It's not as wide. We like to. It is like a trope almost, right? But it has happened.
It actually has. I'm sure. I hope it hasn't happened much.
No.
I hope it's like a every once in a while, a weird thing.
But here's the thing: my little cousins will pretend to be a dog for a little bit, and then
we all did.
But they won't.
I'm sure when I was a kid, I walked around thinking I was a lion or a dog or.
But you don't embrace it. You don't
No, and nobody. When I thought I was a lion, they didn't bring a cage into school for me.
Yes.
If I went up to the nuns and I said, Sister Angelica, I would like a cage because I think I was a lion.
They say you have no soul. Then
yeah. Well, I just changed my mind. I won't be a lion anymore.
Yeah.
It's not useful to be a lion because the good sister is going to hit me on that. They used to do this.
Yeah. Ow.
On your brain.
Yep.
My mother used to say it was good because it moved your brains around.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But so we'll be back tomorrow night. Should be Friday again, Ted.
Tomorrow?
March 13th. Friday the 13th.
How are we already to another week? How do these
You know what we're headed for? St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
Get your green suits out.
Now, is that a specific day or is that a day of the week?
The Ides.
His feast day is March.
There is a religious component. You're right.
I
St. Patrick.
suggest, although I rarely suggest anybody doing anything on Fox, I suggest looking at the documentary that was done by Scorsese on the life of St. Patrick.
Tuesday night. That's St. Patrick's Day is Tuesday. We'll have
So you
be
should
prepared
watch it.
here.
I am not knowledgeable enough about his history to tell you how accurate it is. And I have a feeling it isn't, from things I have read a little bit here and there, I have a feeling that it varies a little from what actually happened. But if we know. But it's certainly very, very, very entertaining. It's about an hour and 10 minutes. It's a fabulous documentary.
I love learning about topical, timely
And
things
Scorsese,
at the time.
now, I think the basic facts are correct. He was a Roman citizen who lived in Britannia with his father, who was a Roman government official in Britannia. And when the Gaelic people who occupied Ireland, occupied also by the Celts, and there were others, but the Gaelic people captured him. They took him hostage for 4 or 5 years. And during that period of time, he became very spiritual. Then he came back, he was able to get free, came back to his what was considered a wealthy, noble Roman family, and left his family with his mother and father very upset with him, and decided to study for the priesthood, or a monk, which is what you would be then. And he became a priest and went back to Ireland to convert what were considered savages that the Romans had tried to conquer. They conquered the southern part of Britain. They wanted when they went up to Scotland, they were dealing with the Picts and all these crazy. They some crazy people with who needs it? They don't have anything up there anyway, and we're just all gonna have to be involved with these savages. And then when they took a quick look at Ireland, they said the same thing.
Yep.
And they decided we'll just stay with Britain, and they can. So when he went there as a slave, he liked them. He thought they were nice people, but they were just complete pagans. And he went there and converted them. And the great story is, the great myth is that he drove the snakes out of Ireland, meaning the pagans. And he was a bishop. He was the first bishop of Ireland.
Oh yeah.
Now, there's even a question as to whether he really existed. And there was a period of time when they were considering taking away his sainthood.
Now, why?
Because there wasn't enough
Evidence
historical information to solidify all the things I just told you.
I have a couple of theories, but like, how did it become like such
Saint
a
Christopher.
drinking? How is it a drinking
Saint Christopher, which is the medal that a lot of Catholics wear, because he is the patron saint of travelers and keeps you safe during travel. Because one of the miracles he performed was he carried the baby Jesus across the river or something like that. There's a real issue as to whether he ever existed. So I don't know if I don't think they've taken them away, because there are still churches named after them.
Well, and it's become such a like iconic part of our celebratory season, right? St. Patrick's Day is,
you have to leave St. Patrick. What are the Irish going to do without St. Patrick?
Yeah. And actually, you know what? Before Tuesday, I'm going to look into how did it become the modern celebration that it is today. I remember researching it a little bit, but that'll be an interesting thing to go into.
Do you know the parade in New York is bigger than the parade in Dublin?
We did, just because I hang out with you so much.
And you also should know that 2 days later, in places where there are heavy Italian and Irish communities, the Italian community has embraced Saint Joseph as their patron saint. So they have a big celebration of Saint Joseph. In Buffalo, New York, both days used to be a holiday.
Yeah.
Now, in the church right down here a mile away, St. Edward's Church, on the 18th, which is a day between St. Patrick's Day, the 17th, and St. Joseph's Day, the 19th, they're having a St. Patrick and St. Joseph dinner.
And I will be covering it live, baby.
Shall we?
That sounds awesome.
Shall we go? It would be Irish food and Italian food. I don't think there's much of a contest there, but please.
What is Irish food? Oh no, it's like shepherd's pie.
It's great.
It's shepherd's pie.
Well, heavy on the potato base.
Potatoes.
It's very good. Shepherd's pie is
A
great.
stew.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? Well, the mayor
just as good as Italian food.
I was going to say the mayor,
just as good as
Italian from New York, right? It's hard to. You're not going to get much.
So
how are you going to top that, right?
What happens? What happened when the Romans came to Britain and they looked over at Ireland? What did they say? The Romans.
Well, English food is no good either.
Extremely well educated. They read, they wrote, they produced great food, they produced great art, great
wine,
great law, great wine, and then they had these people walking around with no clothes on, chewing each other up
and drinking beer. I think that was the number one distinction. Actually.
They never made it to Ireland, did they?
Well, they couldn't take it. They couldn't.
But let's not talk about British food. I mean, come on,
please.
But British food. I mean, I'll take Irish food over. What do they feed you?
Is a lot better than English food.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? English food.
Oh my God, there's no such thing as English food.
Why is that?
Well,
for being such a cultured place, London. They consider London like the world.
Nobody taught them how to cook. They think that meat is dried out meat.
You're right. It's terrible. But why is it?
They have one of their, I think their national dish is curry. The empire was so large.
Curry?
Because of
the old Indian trade. Right.
So most of their cuisine is actually imported.
So pretty soon it's going to be Muslim
hummus.
Muslim goulash.
I was going to say, what do they eat? I guess lamb, chickens, lamb, just not pork, right? But lamb.
Canterbury Cathedral will become a mosque.
Has it already? well,
I was
going to say, I just assumed that's happened already.
Abbey will be Mohammedan.
Yeah.
Mohammedan.
What's that site?
Whatever.
Mecca,
Well, we're
Mecca
gonna have-
2.0, the new Mecca, Mecca
yeah.
West, Mecca
We're
West.
gonna have a minaret at Gracie Mansion soon. So
Well, what's the
I think you pull it up.
Iftar?
Iftar.
Yeah, they definitely are doing their Mamdani hosted Iftar dinner recently, right? At Gracie Mansion.
That's like for the close of Ramadan,
Right.
which is the time we always used to get warned there's going to be a lot of violence.
Well, look what
When
just happened
I
today.
used to run the Joint Terrorism Task Force, that there'd always be a lot of violence, and the Muslims would go out and kill at the beginning, at the end of Ramadan. It must be one hell of a holiday.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, logically they would, because that's what they're taught to do in here.
Mm-hmm.
They're taught to kill people.
that's right.
No, nobody wants to tell you that, but you got to know it, because we got to stop it. We got to change them. We got to make them people that don't believe. See, I'm going to show you. It's the back of the book, but I'm going to tell you another thing. They're very sneaky. The book is not in chronological. This book is not in chronological order, and we've gone through it. There's a reason for that, and it's all completely conniving. But well, pray for the people of Ireland and Italy. After all we said about them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
pray-
hey, great people.
Yeah,
You got to
are.
get Kiro.
And they're very much intermarried. I have two godchildren, a half Irish and half Italian. When I grew up, my best friends were Irish and Jewish, which is also a heck of a combination. And but very New York until now. Now the mayor, I don't know. He hates the Jews, but he doesn't like the Catholics very much. He wouldn't go to the Cardinals' installation. So I don't believe this is true, but someone wrote that no New York mayor ever absented himself from the installation of the Archbishop of New York. I can't believe that's true, because the Catholic religion was not accepted in early England. But I mean, if you want to tell me that no one has done it since 1850, I would.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. I would say that.
I
Yeah.
mean, no, you wouldn't, because it's been a strong. The Irish came in around 1845, and then they were followed by the Italians and the Polish and people from Eastern Europe who were Catholic. So it became a very maybe percentage-wise not quite Boston, but very strong Catholic community. And St. Patrick's became the main Catholic cathedral. So the mayor, whether he was Catholic or not, and many of them weren't. I mean, Ed Koch used to live at St. Patrick's, and he was very friendly with Cardinal O'Connor.
Well, as a campaign guy, I would say yes. Go
Yeah.
to the
And they did something really good with that. They wrote a book about Jews and Christians and how to get along, and it was actually beautiful. I don't know what we elected now. We elected a communist, Islamic terrorist sympathizer.
socialist in the financial capital.
Yeah, well, a communist, that's socialist.
What I mean, yeah.
A person who has extreme socialist views and who seems to love, respect, and support Islamic terrorists. Pretty damn crazy. Well, pray for the people of New York and the people of Israel and the people of Iran and the people of the Ukraine and us, Americans, and particularly pray for our great president, that he continues to have the strength and the health and all the great guidance that you give him. So we'll see you tomorrow night. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to